Hello, everybody. It's Kathy with Simply Cards by Kathy, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, October the 4th, 2022, and we are going to have some fun making a fun fold using the Cheerful Basket Bundle. Now, this is a fun bundle, and I'm excited to share it with you, and the fun fold always gives it some extra dimension. But before we want to get started, I just want to take a minute to remind you that today is free shipping, is Stampin' Up, which they don't do very often. So if there's been something you've wanted or been waiting to order, today may be the day to do it because of the savings on shipping. And you can do that up to about 11:59 Mountain Time this evening. So now I am going to flip this camera over to my desktop and we're going to get started. Okay, now if you're with me live, please leave me a comment. Let me know where you're from. And if you have any questions along the way, please put them in the comment section and I will definitely try to answer them. We are going to make this card today, but we're going to switch one of the colors up. So this opens up like this, and you have this cute little fun fold. Now I leave a lot of mine blank on the inside till I know who and why I'm sending them. And then I either stamp a greeting that I feel will be appropriate. And a lot of times I just write a hand note. So this is the card we're going to be making. And let me show you the stamp set we're going to use. I'm going to bring in my catalog, and this is the annual catalog, and we're going to be using the Cheerful Basket Bundle. I love this bundle, and if you get it as a bundle, remember you get 10% off. But you can use this even beyond. I've already been thinking I could use it with some of the flowers from Fond of Autumn. I just love that basket. So we are using that. And the paper that I am using, I wanted to show you, and you can use any paper, but I'm using paper from the Celebrate Everything. Now, the Celebrate Everything is a host reward. So if you order $150 worth of products, you can order this paper, and it covers all the seasons. And it's really pretty paper. So I am going to move that off to the side, and I am going to bring in the stamp set and the dies. I have done a lot of prep work as far as die cutting what we need, but we are going to be stamping two images. We're going to stamp the apples and we're going to stamp the cat. And this is going to be die cut, but these are photopolymer stamps. So you'll notice mine are a little stained because photopolymer will pick up some of the color from reds and purples and blues, but it doesn't affect your stamps at all. Your images will stamp just as crisp as ever. And this is the full basket dies. We are going to be using this die today, which gives us the back of the basket. We're also going to be using this one, which is not only die cut, but embossed, which I love. And then these are the slats to weave in the basket. So I do have these three pieces cut, but I did want to show you the dies, and we're going to have to cut the kitty and the apples. So let's move that out of the way and bring in our supplies. So we are using Poppy Parade because the paper I chose from Celebrate Everything is this fall paper. I thought it went really well with the apples, especially at least where I live, which is in the Midwest. This is apple picking season and it's fall, so I thought these went well together. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you the dimensions. Don't write them down because by morning they're all going to be in a link that's going to be posted right below this video. So just kind of listen and don't worry about writing down. We are starting off with a half a piece of 8.5 by 11. So this is cut at 4.25 by 11, and we are going to score it. At 2 3/4, and get your cutting blade out of the way. So score at 2 3/4, and then we're going to score again at 5.5. Okay, and we are done with this. So let's get that out of our way. So right now, what I'm going to do is I like to fold into the hill, and I am going to fold this card in half first. So let's fold on that 5.5-inch score line and just burnish it so that you get a nice crisp. I like to do it a couple times only because fun folds don't always lay flat, and I try to flatten it out as much as possible. Now you have what would be a 4.25 by 5.5 card, but now you're going to fold back on that 2.5 or 2 3/4, I'm sorry, score line, and we're going to just go ahead and burnish that. So there's our card as far as our card base goes. Now, we're gonna use some designer series paper, and I have the pieces cut here. So we have one piece for the front. I tend to use eighths a lot. Now, whenever I do a card in eighths, if you don't like eighths, do quarters. So this is 2 3/4. So this piece is 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. Now, if you don't like to deal with eighths, cut it 2.5 by 4. And just so that you stay the same with your measurements. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to adhere this to the flap. Now you want to be careful if your paper has a direction to it, and this one doesn't. It's just like falling leaves. So I think we're safe with however we're going to adhere it. And I just want to slide that down a little bit. That's why I love using the multi-purpose glue, because it allows me to slide. So that's one piece of designer series paper. I cut a second matching piece, and this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And we're going to adhere this to the inside of our card. So let's go ahead and do that. I hope you all had a great weekend, and that you're having even a better week. Okay, so there's that. And then I took a different piece of designer series paper, and this was a scrap that I had, and it was from the Teacup Boutique designer paper, but it was the same color, yellow, the crushed curry. So I chose to use that. So again, use whatever designer series paper you have, and just use your third piece as a coordinating piece. Okay. All right. So there's our card with our designer paper. Now the next thing we need is 2 pieces of a different color cardstock. So in the one I showed you, I used Granny Apple Green, but in this one I chose to use the crushed curry just for a little different look. And these, gosh, I don't remember what these are. Let's pull out this. These are 3 1/4, and I think it's 4 1/2. So you're going to use this. One is going to be here, and the other one is going to be on the inside. But before we do those, I want to go ahead and cut or stamp rather my images so that they can dry. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back to this. So our apples, and because I'm using the Stampin' Blends, we're going to use the Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and I'm just going to ink it up really good. Now, because this is photopolymer stamp and we don't have a lot of cushion, I am going to bring in my piercing mat, and we're going to stamp on that. So let's bring that in. And you can probably hear the geese in the background. I live by a nature preserve, so there's always a lot of noise in the background. So there's our apples. And now I want to stamp the cat. So we're going to ink him up. And I want to get a nice crisp image, so I inked him up a little bit extra. And I'm going to stamp them crooked. Okay. Now, the reason I did that is because I don't want to waste the paper, but I didn't want to get it so close that once they're colored, I had trouble with my dyes overlapping. So we're going to set this off and let that dry for a minute. I always tend to do that, or try to remember to do that. That way I don't have any problems with bleeding or running with my Stampin' Blends. Now, watch my saying that. We'll have problems tonight, but let's hope not. So we're going to go back to getting these layers ready. So we have the crushed curry, and then I have 2 basic white. And the basic white were 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. And one of them, I wanted a textured background. I just wanted to add a little something to it. So I used the Painted Texture 3D embossing folder and embossed this. And we're going to go ahead and adhere this with multi-purpose glue to the front of our card. I love fun folds. If you watch me, you know that. But there's so many different fun folds that I really enjoy showing them to you and making them. Okay, so here we are with the front. And now with the inside, we are going to go ahead and adhere this. Now, I thought I had a little strip of that designer series paper here to adhere to the bottom, but I guess not. So that might be something I'll have to do after, but we're going to go ahead and adhere this. Now, I am going to leave this blank again because I'm not sure under the circumstances or who I'll be sending it to. And we're going to go ahead and just pop this on there. Okay, so here's our 2 pieces. Now, the trick when putting these on is you want to take the front piece and you want to pretty much center it top and bottom and to the sides as much as you can. And when you go to adhere it, you only want to put glue on the half to the left, because if you glue the whole thing, this isn't going to open for you. So we're going to go ahead and get these put on. And then we're going to do all of our coloring and assembly of those dies and finish up our card. So that looks pretty good. Give it a good pressing. Now, to adhere this, I do not want this to stick out in any way. So what I'm going to do is line this up, put glue on it, line it up, and flip it over. So let's go ahead and do that. Oops. So what I do is simply put it the front to the back, and then I close my card. Flip it over, and you can see it's lined up in there, not sticking out. And then I just give it a little bit of pressure to make sure it's adhered. Now, what I was talking about for the inside of my card, and who knows, it may show up here, but I don't think so, is I'll do a strip just like this. This is 3/8 of an inch, right along the bottom here. That gives me a little decorative look to the inside, and then I can write my greeting. So let's go ahead and we are going to color our apples. And the one thing I wanted to share with you tonight is just some tips and tricks that I use for coloring. Now, I want my apples to be as lifelike as they can be, and let me show you what I mean. You can see these are you have that little bit of color change that you might see yellow or green in the apple. I just wanted it to look like real apples. So I am going to blend some different colors here. Now the ones I'm going to use primarily are my dark Poppy Parade, my dark Real Red. For that little bit of change in color, say to the skin of the apple, I'm going to use my dark Daffodil Delight. And then I am going to use Granny Apple Green for the leaves. So let's get started here. So I'm going to use the wide end of my brush. And one of the things, let me bring you in a little bit closer so you can see. So I'm sorry, no, I don't want to make you dizzy, but let's bring you in just a little bit here. So I start typically with my dark. I know some people do the light, and I just want to follow this around a little bit here. And then I'm going to come in with the dark Poppy Parade, and I'm going to blend that in. Now, when I use my blends, I try not to go up right to the edge, the stamped edge of the image, just because these are alcohol based, and they do spread out a little bit. So I want a little bit of yellow on this apple, and I'm not going to go over into the red. I'm simply very light-handedly going to add a little bit of this yellow. And then we're going to go ahead and just color some more apples. So here I'm going to use my Real Red, and I'm going to even add it over here. And then I'm going to go back in with my Poppy Parade, the dark Poppy Parade, and I'm just going to color over it and blend those colors. And I'm not going to add any yellow to this one. And I'm going to go down further than I probably need to because it will get die cut where it should be. I just want to make sure I have that blended in well. And then we're going to come in here. I love to color. For me, it's relaxing. I know for some people it's a headache. But I just think if you like coloring, and not everybody does, you can use your imagination and just do so much with these blends. Now I want to add some yellow again into one of these apples. So let's see which one's probably going to be this one up here. Now when I'm done here, I will pick this up and show you what it looks like up close. And the reason I try not to go over onto the red, because if you mix red and yellow, what do you get? You get orange. And I don't want my apples to be orange. But I just like the way they look using those different colors. You know, when I first started using the blends, I pretty much stayed with the two colors that matched. And I'm not real sure why. I think I just was learning how to use them. And now I kind of mix and match colors like the Poppy Parade and Rio Red, like I'm doing now. And you can just get such a beautiful look from doing that. We're just going to go in here, and this one's going to be all red. We're just going to add a little bit of color here. There we go. Now let's do our leaves, and we'll be done with this. So this I'm just going to come in with the dark on the tips. And then I'm going to go over it with the light Granny Apple Green. Now, I do want to, for those of you that aren't subscribed to my newsletter, if you go up to the banner on my YouTube channel and click to go over to my website, I do a weekly newsletter. And each week I give you at least 2 free tutorials in that newsletter. And starting this week, I will be doing 2 Christmas tutorials for the 12 weeks of Christmas. So here's our apples. So if you would like to subscribe to my newsletter, please go over there. And let's see here. I'm going to grab some gray. I have, I'm using the smoky slate, and I'm going to start with the light, because you have a lot of detail in here. And if I need more, I can go in with my dark smoky slate and add a little bit, which I am going to do right along here. And then we're just going to go ahead and color him. He's going to be all gray, except his ears are going to be petal pink. Now, sometimes I gets away from me and I color the eyes, and I determined tonight not to do that. As I use my Stampin' Blends, if you've watched me before, I try hard to go in one direction and not kind of go scrub it back and forth on the paper, because I find, at least for me, when I do that, it denudes the paper and it kind of pills it. And I don't like that look. So I try to, and it does take me a little longer, but I'm okay with that, because that allows me, I think, to get a better image for me. Let's give them a little bit more color in here. And I think that looks good. We're going to add a little bit of light petal pink here to his ears. And we're going to give him just a touch of darkness right up on his ears here. There we go. So these are our colored images. Now we're going to get ready to cut these out. And to do that, I'm going to bring in the dies. So this is the one to the apples. I am going to put a piece of removable tape on there. If you have washi tape, use that. I just like to make sure it doesn't shift when I'm cutting it. And I'm using Post-it note tape, which for me comes off really easy. And let's go ahead and we're going to do the same with this little guy. And we're going to cut these out, and then we're going to assemble our basket and put our card together. I will be right back. Okay, so here we are. And these just completely peel off really easily. And then here's our apples. All right, so here's our basket. Now there is a basket that you can stamp and die cut, but I wanted to do this. So let me show you how these pieces come about. So this is the back of your basket that I've cut. This is the detailed part of your basket with the slits. And then this funny looking thing that looks like it could be part of a pot for potting or plants are these three strips here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to weave these strips in and around these slats. So on the top, I'm going to go over and just weave it in through the slats. And then this is the smallest part, so I'm going to slide it down. And in order to keep it there, I'm just going to take a little dab of glue because I don't want it to move around. And I'm going to do the same thing at this end. And we're just going to weave these three slats, and I'm going to alternate positions. So the next one is this one. So now I'm going to go under and then over. It's kind of like you weave in pot holders when you were a kid. I don't know. I guess I'm showing my age. How many of you wove pot holders, those loops, where you'd go under and over? Boy, and I remember doing that even with my oldest granddaughter, who's 18 now. We made pot holders with those loops when she was young. So again, I just put a dab of glue on the ends in the back and wove that through. Now our last one, I am going to go over. So just going back and forth. And it's not quite as pliable once you get a couple of these, the two in here, but it really isn't bad at all. And then that's in place. So there's our basket. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue here and glue that down, and a dab of glue here. There. Now, if you want, you can trim that little bit off that's sticking out from the edge here. But there's our basket. Now I'm ready to glue this on here. And then our apples are going to go on the back. So let's go ahead and we're going to adhere this to the base of the basket. Now, if at the end of the video, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button and you'll get notified when I go live, or even to be notified when there's going to be a new video coming. So I would love that because it'll help me grow my channel. Now we're going to adhere the apples to the back, and I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and run it along the edge here. And then I'm going to take my apples and just fit that right over the edge of the apple and just give it a good press. So there's your basket of apples. Now there is another die in this set that is supposed to be like a little kerchief or a napkin that you can glue here if you'd like to. Now I didn't do it on the other one, but let's go ahead and do it here. Let's make this one a little bit different. So just going to adhere this right on the edge. Okay. Now I want to add a bow to this basket. And to do that, I'm going to use my baker's twine. So what I do for this, and I like to do this even on pots, is I wrap my bow, start in the back, or my twine rather, and I just wrap it around 3 or 4 times and got to get it up there just to get some nice little bit of bulk to it, but you don't want to pull it tight because you don't want it to bend your die cut. So there's 3 times, and I'm going to go ahead and trim this off here and just bring that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie my bow. So just gonna, oops, tie a knot here and slide it up. And then I always do usually 2 rabbit ears because I can't get the ribbon through otherwise. But here with this twine, I can easily tie a bow. Now I end up having to work it to get it tighter and smaller to the size I want. So, oops, I just pulled it out. Let's retie that. Sorry about that. And you want to make sure that they're all up there. There we go. There. And I kind of turn it so that I'm tying it in the opposite direction. It seems to hold better for me. And I am not the best bow tire, but I have gotten better. So there's that. So now I just play with it until I get it, the loops, the size I want, and then I pull to tighten. And then I'm going to trim this one's a little big. And then I'm just going to trim that off. Okay. So there's our basket, and we're ready to put it on our card. So we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals for this. And I'm just going to pop them on here. Now I am going to cut a few, a smaller size, just because I want to be able to support these small leaves. So I usually work along the edge here and cut little pieces. I try not to waste these, and many times I'll even cut them in half. So let's grab another piece here. And I'm just going to put this on the leaf, and I'm going to put another one on that other leaf. Okay, and we're going to pop some on our pot or basket. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to take these off. And I'm just going to use my pick tool. Now I will be back on Thursday morning for Connect to Create, which is my joint effort that I do with my friend and Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair. And this week I'm doing plastic wrap watercoloring. So that's at 10 o'clock on Thursday. So I hope you'll be able to join me then. And then I'll be back on Friday afternoon for Friday Fun at 1. I'm just going to pop a few dimensionals on our kitty. And again, I am going to cut a piece for his tail and his ears. Okay. And we are ready to wrap this card up. And then I want to show you another one. All right. So here's our kitty, and I'm going to put him down so he's not like sitting up in the air. And that came off his ear. So, okay. And then our greeting I stamped already, and it is from the stamp set, and it says sending you some get well cheer. So we're just going to pop that on with some mini Stampin' Dimensionals, and our card is done. And I want it here, and I'm going to slide it under. Oh, that's bent down here. There we are. Just going to slide it under here. Actually, you know what we're going to do is we're going to cut that shorter. Just trim that off. And use another Stampin' Dimensional on the end. And now we're ready to put it on. So here's our card. Let's move this all out of the way. So here's this one using crushed curry and having our little napkin or tablecloth there. And here's the one that I did using the Granny Apple Green. So I would love to see or hear from you which one you like best. Again, use the papers you have. Don't think because you don't have the same papers you can't do it. I have another card I want to share with you using this set, but it's not a fun fold, but just to show you a little bit of a difference in the coloring. You can see with the Stampin' Blends how rich that color is and dark. And then with this one, I actually watercolored the apples and then put some Wink Stella on them. So they looked like they had some shine. So these are the images watercolored. And then these are the images that are done with blends. So I hope you enjoyed today's card. I hope you have a wonderful evening in the next couple days, and join me again on Thursday for Connect to Create and Friday for Friday Fun at 1. You have a great evening, everybody. See you soon.